Here we go.
Here we go. I realize, and we're live. There's my lighting. Oh, happy St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day to you as well.
Oh,
but there's probably a few people. There's a few people out there who do not deserve to be given no Happy St. Patrick's Day. What do we think of some people?
Oh, I think there's a lot of people that we don't think deserve a lot of things. But welcome, everybody. It is Monday night, Generational Change. I'm Jen.
I'm Peter, and still getting adjusted to the lighting, but I think
the lighting's fine. Your lighting is fine.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I know what the problem is. That's what it is.
There you go. That's a little bit better. There we go. That's better.
It all, you know, a perfect day to accentuate my Irish blood and how white I am. You know, that
you are pasty.
I'm pretty pasty, but I'm okay with that. I'd rather have healthy, glowing skin than, you know.
Oh, you glow. Oh, you glow in the dark.
I can get color. And so
I don't know about that.
So what I want to open with, and look, I don't want to get on people. I understand that not everybody.
You've got to just stop and stop moving around. Just sit.
So people have a lot of opinions about what are the connections between Luigi Mangione and Mahmoud Khalil. I made it very clear in the post that I put out today that it's not that Mangione and Mahmoud are the same, but that Mahmoud is a continuation of Mangione. He just used a bullhorn. It doesn't have to be the exact same thing. There is a massive disruption happening in the corporate establishment in this country right now. And that is where the connection comes into play, whether it is going after the corporate infrastructure that is our for-profit health system, or the corporate infrastructure that is our foreign policy led by Israel. That is the connection. And to say that
I would suggest that it's led by us by prioritizing that little area in West Asia. So it isn't being led by them. It's being led by American empire, but it's based on and focused on colonizing West Asia. That's what I would say. That's how I would phrase that. But yes.
Yeah. And you get people coming on making their statements about, well, they're not the same. It's well, I mean, not only are they not the same, let's get that straight. But there's so many people that simp for corporate establishment. I still don't understand that. Like, even if your life is good, like, let's say that you're doing well, why would you ever want to simp for people that wouldn't scrape you off the bottom of their shoe if they stepped on you by accident? Like, I don't understand that.
You're asking the wrong person.
Well, I know what you think.
I don't, yeah. So
you would just do away, you know, your patience for the human condition is very thin to begin with. So.
Oh, it's very thin, and it's thinning by the minute. But, you know, the fact that people don't see the connection is because, again, like what we were talking about when Steve was here, I really have this theory that everybody is just standing at a different distance from the exact same forest, right? And every person is at a different step away from that. And some of these people are just they're kind of there, like they see some things, so they're a little bit further back, but they're still not quite there yet, because they're not understanding that the thing that is in common between Luigi and Mahmoud is the fact that they are people that are threats to empire and to capital. So that is their existence in two different ways are a threat to the system. These are people that are getting a lot of media attention. These are people that have a following of people that not only are sympathetic to them, but really want to just be on their team, So, I mean, that's the similarity is they're fighting against the same empire, two different sides of capital. Whereas Luigi goes directly against capital corporate itself. Someone like Mahmoud is threatening because he's speaking out against the empire and colonization of Palestine. Same empire, same thing. That's what I mean. Like, I feel like once you keep stepping further and further back, you see the interconnectedness much more easily.
Well, I know you didn't want to get into what we were discussing earlier, but the one thing I will mention is, which I think is important, how can you look around at what's going on right now and think that the thing that you really want to get is a text message from a person saying that they're running for Congress in the Democratic Party? It's like
they're not reading the room. They're just not reading the room.
It's not just not reading the room. It's beyond not reading the room. It's an insult to everything that people are going through right now. Like everything.
That's what's facilitating the revolution. Like, people are really curious. Like, every one of these cuts to services, to universal basic services, or cuts to employment, cuts to whether it's cutting however many how many veterans did they let go? Like, it was quite significant.
3,000 or something like that.
Yeah, like a significant amount of people. You are just creating more and more Luigis, which is to say you're creating a bigger and bigger population of people that have nothing left to lose. And that right there is what facilitates the revolution. That's how you had the Boston Tea Party. Once everyone had just friggin' had it and had nothing to lose. And every one of these things that Trump is doing is creating a bigger and bigger class of that group of people that have absolutely nothing to lose. And I think that that's, why I've been saying for a long time, this is going to get more violent, especially, given that we have more firearms than people in a country where regulations are being cut. So, I mean, this could very well get pretty like Mad Maxy, in some capacity. Well, and that's again dictated by the oppressor. The level of violence is dictated by the oppressor. Do not forget that.
Well, I'm not surprised that Katie Porter's running, but you know what? This is what ultimately ends up happening when, I mean, look, we need good people running for office. There's no two ways that I think is necessary. And I also think that she will be formidable against Kamala Harris, assuming that Kamala decides to get in. But there's a lot of good people backing Butch Ware and helping him build his infrastructure, which I think is necessary. If times were better, I would say Katie Porter would probably get support from both of us. But there has to be a clean break from the Democratic Party.
Oh, yeah. No, it's done. Yeah, no, it's done. I am glad to say, though, like, to me, that really does solidify Kamala completely just like losing. Because, even if they were to write off Butch and he didn't have the same name recognition or get the same amount of media attention and they could sort of just write him off, they can't do that to Katie Porter. And Kamala, I really don't think can compete well with Katie Porter. So I think it's just one other way for her to have her ass handed to her. But no, I am supporting Butch. And that is, and the truth is, I don't have a horse in that race personally. I always feel like somewhat hesitant to be like so gung ho, but in this case, it's a big deal. But I don't get to vote there. So it really doesn't matter what I think.
No. And that's why, again, we're looking around at electoral politics and thinking, what's the point of all of this? If we are not improving ourselves materially in any way, in fact, things are getting progressively worse all the time. And the problem that we're seeing is that our system is completely bought by corporate special interests. Well, then what do you expect is going to happen? What should we expect?
Oh, I have for a long time been saying violence. And the more that they keep like oppressing nonviolent resistance, which they do more and more and more. I mean, that's the other thing. So again, it's what Khalil or Mahmoud Khalil and Luigi Mangione have in common is that these are people that are being pushed to where there's no nonviolent possible resistance. So in the case of Luigi, it's like, obviously resisting doesn't matter to these people, but that sure got their attention. And in the case of Mahmoud, it's the same thing. Obviously it's, a matter of, if the nonviolence isn't going to work, which is what they're showing you, they're trying to show you it doesn't work, that's going to just keep facilitating the violence. That's what
Correct.
I think. So,
and that is what's happening. There is no way to do this clean. It's not going to happen. And we're already showing you repeatedly that they're willing to risk some type of violent action, continued violent action. And we hear what some of our friends on other channels have to say about, well, if you get violent, it's only going to, create more cop cities and lockdowns and stuff. Well, that's what they want. They want that to happen, but at some point you have to accept that there is no going back, that the point of no return has been hit, that trust in this system is firmly dead. And that is why we cannot be afraid when things are going to start to get completely out of control. And they will get out of control. They're getting out of control now. One thing we talk about constantly is the economic plight that Israel is going through right now. That's part of the reason why we have to send them so much money, is because we kind of are propping up their entire economy.
I don't know how much money we send them versus how much our weapons manufacturers get that money and send weapons to them. And that, I don't know the breakdown in that. But if it's like anything like our empire, which again, it is our empire, they're putting the money into the weapons and not into helping their people or their economy. So, you know what, as they are an extension of us, suffice to say, they're prioritizing military and not economics, and certainly not the safety of their people. So, where's that money going? I don't think we're sending them money as much as we're sending them weapons.
I sent Medea the link last night. I don't know if you want to text her just to make sure that she got it, or there's
I will.
an issue, just to be safe. You never know. That's why I always like to confirm. Yeah, I mean, you kind of are looking around, just asking yourself, what's going to happen? Is the shoe going to drop? What is going to be the difference? It's like what I say about Doge. I think Doge is a great idea. In fact, I think it's long overdue that we do have a system that has a course correction. The problem with Doge is that it's being facilitated by a person who has no interest in doing anything, maybe inadvertently, but generally speaking, Elon's entire intention is continuing to facilitate the growth of his own empire. Like, that's what he's doing. But Doge has been on the books for 15 years. This got put in place shortly after Obama took office, and they never did anything with it.
Yeah.
Under Obama, under Trump his first term, and certainly not under Biden. And now Trump is back again, and now they're using a tool that was there. So it can't come as a surprise. And as Fashion City Metaverse says, they're all pro-war presidents. All of them.
It's the same thing over and over and over and over again. We've been on the same trajectory regardless of party in power, in any branch. We've been on the same trajectory since Reagan, really, like regardless of which party. Because once the Democrats became complete corporate neolibs and abandoned labor, you have two corporate parties. End of story. It's all the same. So, And by the way, let's not forget that throughout a very large part of Obama's presidency, he was facilitating a genocide in Yemen.
Yeah.
Okay, for a very long time, and allowing Saudi Arabia, giving them weapons, helping them pay for all of this stuff against the Houthis. So this is not new. So, but yeah. And what's so pathetic about all of this, I don't know if people are very familiar with what is Yemen, like where is Yemen? Like geographically and whatever, but I'm not going to say it right, but Sana'a. Okay. I think it very well might be the oldest continuously inhabited city on the planet. Like if it isn't, I think that was what I heard. But in any event, the point is, this is like, again, the basis cradle of our entire civilization, the history of people. And because of the caucasity of American
There's that word
empire,
again.
because I cannot think of a better way to put it, they do not understand the concept of ingenuity and being connected to a land. They have no concept what that is. They have no honor, but they have no concept of what that is. And in places like Yemen, which is why, they are people that will stand in solidarity with the Palestinians, because they are also indigenous peoples to an ancient land that we should all be caring about. So it is so clear who the rightful stewards of that land are. And it's not the people bombing the land, right? That's not the rightful stewards of the land are not the people destroying all of our civilization, like history of our civilization. So like the whole thing with going after Yemen, it's really, to me, it's very similar with the Palestinian plight. It's you're picking on the people that are the origin of our species people. It's so grotesque. Like I cannot, these are people that have never existed anywhere else. And these, again, the caucasity of these people to just come in and just think, oh, well, just move these people here and move those, like, everything is about real estate to the white people. It's unbelievable. It's about what you can do with the land for your benefit and owning it. And the people that truly belong on that land, that's not how they see it. I don't know how to explain this to people. I really don't. You have to sort of just, I don't know, maybe you just have to feel it.
I don't think it's white people in general. I think it's a specific type of white person.
It's the people leading American empire. I'm talking about the people that are in charge of empire. And yes, it is a very white, supremacist, Western colonizing, disgusting caucasity of the situation. Yes, it is exactly that. Like that it is 2025 and we are just publicly colonizing places still, even knowing what we know. It's just absurd.
Well, the good news is, and I continue to bring this point up constantly, Thomas Massie does not miss, and he continues to defy the president, which is what everybody should be doing when they have an opportunity to do it. But most people just don't have the caucasity to defy power.
That's not caucasity.
No, it's the guts. It's the God.
Yeah. He's got a set. You know what I'm saying? He's got a set.
Congressman Thomas Massie has come out against President Trump's recent strikes against Yemen and Sana'a. And why is he the only person that's saying this? You don't see Chuck Schumer. You don't see Hakeem Jeffries. You don't even see AOC.
I was going to say, where's Bernie? He's one of the people that was trying to get the, rescind the AUMA because of Yemen. Like that was one of his big things, was the fact that was completely being done in violation of the Constitution. And he was trying to, rescind this is very frustrating. So where's Bernie on this?
Bernie not only has been quiet, but apparently Bernie decided to go right along with Lindsey Graham's resolution that more or less continues to give carte blanche to Israel to do what they want to do. And make no mistake, the attacks against Sana'a in Yemen is being done on behalf of Israel. Period.
Again, I would suggest it's being done at the behest of empire because we're prioritizing the West Asia as where we want to do what we're doing. So again, I don't like the image that Israel is bossing us around. It's sort of like, it's not the tail wagging the dog. Like it's not. Empire is doing all of it. So just like I think saying things about our tax dollars, I think language matters.
Well, you know what, guys? I think this is a good time for a quick video because...
And I haven't heard back from Medea. It's so weird because, like, I told you when you said reach out to Medea, and I'm like, okay, don't count on it. And she responded so quickly, which normally, you know, she's always in different time zones. And I know she's in California right now, but I still, you know,
Well, you don't think she mistook it for...
No.
Okay.
No. I specifically said 7:15 EDT, so 4:15 for you. Like I put the whole thing there. Yes, because she had said she's in California. So yes, clearly.
I want to show you guys what it's like when you think about this sort of overarching problem when it comes to the subjugation of people that they consider lesser than. I sent Jen a video, and keep in mind, this video is from just before the Mariel boat lift in Miami. So if you want to see what the subjugation of the Black community used to look like, and it's pointed out in this video that the people who own these properties don't live anywhere near them. They could be in North Miami Beach, they could be in Fort Lauderdale, they could be in Boca Raton, wherever they are. They're living very comfortable lives.
Where is this story from? Are we allowed to play it?
It came across on Instagram. I felt that it was necessary because it just shows how relevant it is now.
As long as we're allowed to
Less than
play
a mile
it,
from the heart of downtown Miami is one of the bleakest ghettos in South Florida. This is Overtown, a predominantly Black, overwhelmingly poor community filled with vacant buildings and people who have no jobs. It is an area riddled by street crime and drugs. And one of the first things you notice here are dozens of rundown apartment buildings where people live in substandard housing. But some buildings in Overtown stand out like sore thumbs. They are owned by slumlords who live miles away from here in expensive homes. And even though they are in violation of Dade housing laws, little if anything is being done to repair them. For an entire month, our cameras followed Dade County housing inspectors through some of the worst slums in Overtown. Every day, inspectors find hundreds of housing violations in these buildings, some of them serious safety hazards, like this hole large enough for a child to fall through, and ceilings that cave in on tenants. We found people living with no hot water and plumbing that does not work, and we found tenants whose complaints to landlords fall upon deaf ears.
The tub is always stopped up the bathtub, and the sink in the bathroom, it's always stopped.
Can you just tell me again what year this is?
1980.
Okay, so, all right. Thank you.
And for now, about 9 months, we haven't had any hot water at all.
No hot water?
No hot water, period.
Insects, roaches, rats, bugs, flies, they all comes in because ain't nothing there to keep them out. Rats in there about that long.
How long have you had that hole in your bathroom?
About 7 months.
Do you ever call the landlord to come and fix it?
I done told him about it, and he come out and see it, and he did nothing about it.
Inspectors say these slumlords simply use the buildings as tax write-offs and don't worry about making repairs. Why don't the landlords fix them?
Because it costs money. And that's one of the reasons they're in that type of business. They're the cheapest kind of people you ever met, and some of these slumlords.
Tomorrow we'll take a closer look at the lords of the slums. Elliot Rodriguez, Channel 4 News.
Interesting. And you're just like, are you saying that it's amazing that we're still dealing with that? Are you saying it's amazing that we haven't come very far? It's just now the slumlords are corporations?
What I'm also saying is that people that support the state of Israel are often people that own these types of properties. It's very common practice.
Oh, well, yeah, slumlords.
Yeah, well, if you know anything about the industry that I'm in, I don't have to spell it out.
No.
But the fact remains that there is an ethnic supremacy that people who support the Zionist state actually believe that this is okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, because
no one needs to live like that. Nobody. Even if you're poor, even if you don't have much. But I can assure you that in the minds of the multifamily property owners, and Miami is just one example of it, Miami is just as bad now as it was then, just in different ways. The same rules still apply. Overtown is still terrible. Liberty City is still terrible. Little Havana, depending on where you are, still terrible. And Pinecrest, North Miami Beach, Plantation, Weston wasn't even created yet.
Well, Plantation's actually been here for a long time, East Plantation. But you know, the thing is, those neighborhoods are now, many of them are just all gentrified. So they're nice now, but the people that live there are not the people that are the working people that are working in that area. So it's sort of like, you know, all you did was gentrify it and make people have one less area that they can afford to live, which is what's happening. I mean, that's what's happening in all this. Like, even what is Overtown now is a whole different thing. And it's still not great, but then once you go then you're, you know, very close to Midtown and Wynwood and all of that, and that is all part of the expansion of the gentrification. And they're going to go into Little Haiti because Little Haiti is on high ground.
That's it.
Exactly.
Because it's value. When the sea level continues to rise and the flooding gets worse, which it will.
That's why they're starting to gentrify Little Haiti and push them out. Even though that never got services, it was always treated that, you know, it's not.
And you're going to have a real battle on your hands because the two most conservative areas in Broward County, Southwest Ranches and Davie, those are the most elevated areas in the entire county. So they're going to try to do what they can to kind of force a massive change in those areas to allow, you know, major apartment complexes to get built. I mean,
you see it in Center Davie. Like I can't even.
Oh, it's so disgusting, and it's on a 2-lane road. I mean, you talk about an area for like 3 or 4 hours out of the day. You do not want to have to drive down.
No, but you're talking about University Drive. I'm talking about the actual universities that are over there and the amount of housing that they're building down Davie Road by the university.
Yes, that's what I'm
saying is all for university housing, but it's all along Griffin Road, all along. Like, I can't even go over there. I need to leave. I can't be here anymore. There are too many people here. Every day I have to get in the car. Like, anytime I have to get in the car, I don't know how anybody wants to live like this.
Well, it's also a reflection of the cultural shifts in our country and how a lot of it's done on purpose. People want to be in warm climate. That's part of it. I don't know what it is. I don't know why anybody wants to live like that. Literally.
So we could have been stood up by Medea, and it's like, now I'm having a recollection that I think it's happened before, because things just happen and come up, you know. For all we know, she got arrested. You know what I'm saying? Like with Medea, it's like, it's kind of like with the Nobigain. You have to just always assume that there's going to be timing delays. You know what I'm saying? They're just in that kind of field. But
we need backup. We need backup, guys.
Well, I mean, we don't, though. We're fine. But in any event, when I do hear from her, we will reschedule. So, guys, I'm sorry. And anytime she shows up, I'll be happy to. But it has happened before. Seriously, it could be somebody got arrested. She's out in California, so I don't know what's going on out there. But what we were going to do is something that I just think would be good to do with a lot of guests now, which is basically ask them, what are the top 3 things that you think everyone needs to be paying closest attention to right now? So that was sort of how we were going to do this. So, she'll come back. I'm not worried about Medea. She's, well, you know, she's protected. But yeah. But look, when you do live stream, this is something that happens. It just does. And it's okay.
Yeah. No, it's part of why, you know, we do what we do.
And that's fine, because the truth is, whatever we were going to talk about with Medea, whatever her top 3 were, are things that we would be talking about anyway.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. So I guess if she comes on, we will address it. But apparently there's been a Jewish high holy day. Purim, I believe, is...
is it? Is it Purim? No.
Yeah.
Purim? Yeah. Already? All right. It's not Passover yet, right? I saw the food in the aisles.
I don't know. I'm just glad that it's St. Patty's Day. Not because I'm trying to get my drink on or anything like that. I'm very happy that there's at least one culture out there that has told Israel to go kick rocks, which is what everybody should be doing.
Oh, Zeynab, you're a badass. We just haven't seen you be physically removed from, a State Department briefing before, stuff like that. But
if Medea doesn't,
those are lofty goals.
No, if Medea doesn't respond, we'll get Zeynab in here. Why not?
Sure.
Have her hop on.
Come on, Zay.
Yeah. Especially if we're going to talk about this.
We can talk about all sorts of shit. I mean, I was just watching her on Status Quo. Like, I would think, you don't want to break. You are more than welcome to come and shoot the shit.
If she's going to sit in the lobby, you might as well let her into the office. I mean, it's kind of like that, right? Like showing up there.
I know, but she also might be like not wanting to be on camera and be totally, decompressing for the day and not in it because she's not working right now. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm not all set up to go live, like you always think that's just a thing.
Yeah, but
Zeynab, this man, as a campaign manager, this man would think like I could just be ready for an interview in like 2 minutes. He could be like, "What are you doing?" Nothing. Like, all right, well, you need to get on with so and so. Like, until I'm like, are you kidding? Like for him, it's just you just like wet your hands, put your hands to your hair. It's like it's a whole thing.
Well, I just sent you the link, Z. So just check your email. I move at a different pace. I don't know. It's not that I don't get tired. It's that I'm just, I don't know.
You don't take nappies. You don't nappy.
I do. What are you talking about? Of course I do. If I have to. Oh, absolutely I do.
All right. You'll schedule a nap.
Yeah. How do you know, Kimmy? According to Jen, I got to get all dolled up before I get
He doesn't wear makeup, but he has his like manscaping facial routine that he does for sure. He uses a rose quartz roller and
once
a mat.
in a while, not all the time. But yes, I do. I also use a face wash.
He's very diligent about his skincare, which he's which I appreciate.
Don't hate me because I'm beautiful, girl.
It does take him like generally longer to get ready than me, though.
I'm gonna be 42 in less than 2 months, so I have to work.
But you know what that means?
What does 42 mean? What is it? That's a lucky number. It's Jackie Robinson's number. Mariano Rivera's number.
I just mean in terms of what it means in terms of how old I'll be that same month.
Jen is getting ready. Just so you guys, no, you've got one more year. Jen is not ready. Jen is not ready for Del Boca Vista just yet.
I'm not ever going.
One more year. Jen's got one more year before she's eligible to move in to Del Boca Vista.
Let me explain to you that do you remember when we were canvassing that time in that mobile home community and we came across that woman? She was probably like 90. She was in her 90s, lived alone, had a couple of dogs. Yeah. Lived alone, had her whole thing. Old lady. She will probably just die in there alone and somebody will eventually find her. That's me. I'm not going to Del Boca Vista. I'm not going into some dorm for old people. I'm not opening my front door to a hallway. I'm not being in hallways with everybody with walkers and no. So I'm going to be like the lady in the nice mobile home community with like, just minding my business.
Oh, suit yourself.
I told you that one after we knocked on her door. I said to you, that'll be me if I ever make it that long. Like I'll be like this lady, just keep to myself.
Zeynab, are you planning on moving into Del Boca Vista, like an old folks home, by the time you're ready? Or are you just going to die in your house like Jen is going to do one day? Although you have insisted that if necessary, you'll get the happy pills.
Oh, if it's ever an option. I actually think from a healthcare perspective, our right should include at the moment anybody is going to say, hey, we're going to offer you hospice. I think you should get the happy pill alternative. And the only reason you don't get the happy pill alternative is it's just not as profitable. For everybody to do that. But at the end of the day, yeah, I think that should be a prerogative. I'm a big believer in, I'm not jumping the shark. You know what I mean?
Well, if there's one
people should have the choice.
That's my point. Once you qualify for hospice, I'm not saying everybody who's upset should be able to go in and get, and by the way, there are very strict safeguards in the states that do have that. And it's extremely expensive, which is a problem. It needs to be something that's part of healthcare, but there are several safeguards in place. It doesn't require one doctor. It requires multiple doctors. Like it's not something where someone can just decide to go get those pills. It doesn't work that way. But I'm just saying, like, to me, if you're being offered hospice, that's the time to be offered and then you get to determine when, how, what, like that, not just wait until you're in excruciating pain and they just up your morphine until you piss yourself and die anyway. Because that's how everybody ends up going in hospice is they're like, well, why can't we just drug them in the first place?
And when you see family go through that, it changes you. It's
what I'm talking about. Everybody that has seen it, what I'm talking about. And even the people who don't want to go out that way end up that way because of the way that the system is. And I reject that entirely unless,
what I was actually going to say is that, we lived through the whole Terry Schiavo thing, or you did. I wasn't in Florida at the time, but I don't think our country is like me, myself, and I anymore, to the extent that it was back then. I think we still have a religious bend in this country for sure, but nothing like it was even 20 years ago, where there were millions of people who thought it was necessary to keep Terry Schiavo alive. Like that was the level of insanity that we were dealing with.
I still reference the Terry Schiavo exception for the only time it would be ever, acceptable to be with a man who had a wife or a significant other. The Terry Schiavo exception, that would be the only time. Never mind.
Look who showed up. Guy, good to see you. Thanks for checking in. No, I don't think that would be the reason.
Although, what I've been wanting to do for a really long time, guys, tell me how funny this would be. Okay, so we have multiple signs coming into the city. Welcome to Plantation. And they're pretty nice signs, whatever. I want to do one that has it the way it is and then superimpose the word "the" over it and just have the meme say articles matter. Never mind.
I like that.
Yeah. Because it's seriously, it should say welcome to the plantation.
To the plantation?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You'd put the, you'd show it without the and with the, and you'd say, look, articles matter. Because it makes a big difference in how that sounds, even though really it's kind of the same.
Well, it's honestly perfect timing for you to be here, Z, because I think
I was just kind of kidding.
Do you want to
I was sitting here anyway
and get under the covers and be all done for the day? That's the thing.
Come on, it's not that late. At least not yet, anyway.
No, but still, she's done for the day. Also, are you anywhere? Where are you in Kentucky? I forget. Tell me where you are.
Southeastern Kentucky. So
okay,
is Massie your congressman?
This wedding? No, he's not. But a lot of people in my area do support him.
So you're not anywhere near Mammoth Cave.
We're about 2.5 hours away from Mammoth Cave.
Okay, all right. I'm going there.
Well, I'm sure you saw it. Well, I'm sure you saw this over the weekend. Whatever the reason is that they will say is why they drop bombs on Yemen, it will always come back to the same universal principle, which is Israel wanted it and we decided to do it. And this is what was
Stop saying it that way.
Okay.
We wanted it. Empire wanted it. Israel is our friggin' attack dog. All right. Stop letting the friggin' tail wag the dog. Why do you do that? Why do we play into that ridiculous narrative?
I'm tired.
The person with the money and the weapons is the person in charge.
Perhaps, but I'm still tired of seeing the Israel and American flag spliced together as one. So apparently,
I understand. Singing praises or prayers or whatever the hell it is that they're doing while they drop bombs, I guess is pretty on brand for Israel. So this is what was going on over the weekend. What are they doing? Shooting into Gaza while he prays on Purim. With that with that stupid hat on his head. Well, that's just a gesture. I mean, because Purim is you just wear costumes. It's a costume
Oh,
holiday. They do that in lieu of like what we would do for Halloween. They don't
I was going to
like
say.
the Orthodox. They don't do Halloween, but they do Purim. That's their costume holiday. And generally, it can't be licensed characters either. It has to be like somewhat biblical related.
Friend of the show, Ryan Grimm, U.S. is bombing Yemen because that's easier to do than to get Israel to abide by the terms of a ceasefire they already agreed to.
Yeah, it's part of it.
Z, Jen is of the mind that the accelerationist approach of Trump is what is going to ultimately yield the type of change that we need. Jen, you've often said that Democrats.
Oh, I didn't think it's going to yield the change that we need. I never said that. I said Trump facilitates the revolution.
Well,
I have
the
no
change.
idea what's on the other side of that. So, whether or not it's the change we need, it's what we're getting. But we're getting it either way because this is a class war. So that's what I mean. I don't think that he's ultimately going to get us to where we need to go. If that didn't sound right. But yeah, continue.
Well, I believe you have an Iranian background, and I do worry about how far they want to take this or how far they think they can take this before the American population rises up and says enough is enough. But I am curious, do you just see this continuing to spiral? Or do you think people are going to get tired of this? I mean, Trump comes in with a substantial wave of libertarian support.
And anti-war messaging.
Yeah. And so now he is completely flying in the face of what they really wanted him to do as president. And he's not even waiting. Like he is trying to check every single box in his first 100 days. It's actually kind of impressive, to be honest. But I don't understand this at all. And maybe you have some thoughts on it.
I don't know. A week and a half ago, he's doing the thing a lot of people were celebrating with Ukraine, even though I think it was for nefarious reasons. It was the same land grab that Obama and, that the original agreement was drafted in the first place regarding.
Yeah.
It was the same grab for resources, the same colonialism. So I didn't really celebrate it, even though I wanted the funding for the war to stop. I understood what was behind it. It was a little bit more than just being anti-war. But we see that. And then, a week and a half later, he's dropping bombs on Yemen, which I'm not shocked by because he sent, just like Obama's administration did and Biden's administration also did, they all sent weapons to Saudi Arabia. He helped facilitate the genocide following Obama in Yemen, where people were being starved. And I think, Jen, you mentioned this earlier. So he was carrying out something that was already started under the Biden administration. He dropped bombs on Syria and Yemen while he was president before. So I'm not shocked. People think he's an anti-war president because of his stance on Ukraine and are celebrating that. I get that, but motives do matter. It doesn't just matter what someone does. It matters why they're doing it because there's a bigger picture. Yeah,
I mean, it matters to me. It matters in the sense like, look, I want there to stop being dead people in Ukraine. So if what he does facilitates that, yay, good. That's good. However, I also know that he's doing that because he wants to focus on China and whatever other, nonsense he wants to get us involved in. And it has nothing to do with that he's a pacifist. So I get that. But it's like one of those, a broken clock, and if he trips over it, like by accident, and it just happens, I want there to stop being dead people in Ukraine. And that
we're still loose about that because he's talking about putting boots on the ground in Ukraine.
Yeah, that is not.
Yeah.
But I think his own people, like especially his very America First people, are really going to come at him. And it's going to be interesting because he's really he's really sandwiched between his donors and his supporters. And in very different, he's got Mary Madelson buying the West Bank and he's all okay with this. And then you've got his America First supporters that are probably livid that this is what's happening with our quote unquote tax dollars. I hate saying that, but you know what I'm saying? Like that's what when it should be spent here. So, I mean, how do you see him reconciling that? Because he does care what his people think.
I don't think he does.
Interesting.
I don't think he does because a good half of the Republicans even don't support funding for Israel anymore. He completely ignored them. People are backlashing over his trampling of the First Amendment and Mahmoud Khalil, and people are showing up over that. I don't think he, I think maybe a lot of people kind of overestimated, and I know this is something Cenk Uygur said, and I'm not saying you, I'm talking about Cenk specifically, that, when he gets in, he's going to respond to the will of the people. People are pissed off about the cutting of Social Security, and they're still doing it. A lot of his base are pissed at Doge going too far. He's not responding to them. I don't think he cares. I really think that it is the same thing that we see from the Democratic Party, but it is accelerated. So I'm not trying to do a false equivalency here. Everything that was buttressed by the Democratic Party, we've seen it all buttressed by them, but this is like the final stretch here.
Okay, so when all those people, when he pisses off all those people, because then Peter and I have talked about this like amongst ourselves and a lot, but it's so now he's really pissing off the red people. And the red people are armed, and veterans and armed, and the red people are not going to just take it like the Democrats do. So that's why I say he's facilitating it, because every single one of those things he's doing is creating another Luigi Mangione. Every single one of those things is making more people with nothing to lose. So that is essentially, and now he's doing it to the red team. Good luck with that. Good luck with that, because those people, they'll fight back.
Yeah, how long can he keep blaming migrants for everything when he's the one that's cutting people's Social Security?
Exactly.
And I think it's also important to note why this is happening, Jen. I know we don't have to really dig into it too deep, but we did address the fact that the Democratic Party is currently sitting at its lowest approval rating ever measured, going back decades and decades and decades. And that is why Trump doesn't have any reason to care. There is no pushback. He basically is operating in many ways as a king. And so he could just do what he wants because there is no real opposition. And you could blame, well, there are judges this, judges that. You allowed all of the corporate entities to take over our judicial system for decades and decades. Again, Trump is just a symptom who has walked into an opportunity where he actually knows how to use this completely broken system to his advantage. That's it.
Well, we're old enough to remember when Obama didn't seat a bunch of judges and Trump was able to go in and seat them all.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very inconvenient to have to bring up the past of things that the liberal class doesn't want you to talk about. Well, let's see what they have to say about this.
Good morning. Welcome Inside Politics Sunday. I'm Luigi. First up this morning, a brand new exclusive CNN poll that paints a brutal reality for Democrats as they struggle to mount a unified opposition to President Trump.
Good luck
Americans'
with that.
favorable views of the Democratic Party's brand are at a record low, just 29%. That's compared to 36% for Republicans. It is the lowest ever recorded for Democrats in CNN polling going back more than 30 years.
And yet, and again, this is where it fascinates me that I seem to be pointing this out to people when I am so mathematically challenged. People seem surprised when I say, yeah, we've seen our last national Democratic president from this party. They're bleeding numbers. They cannot. How are they going to have more numbers to get more votes if they have less people? That, like, I don't understand how they can ever come back.
15% left. 15%. And we've been watching this because I know that we talked about this at Brand New Congress. We talked about this when you were running, but they've been bleeding people from the party registering independent. Now 2/3 of the country, both parties have been, let's not, both parties have been losing support, but now 2/3 of the country are registered independent. So that leaves like 1/4 of the country, and then, less than 1/4 of the country are the fringe, and the fringe are now the two parties. But the Democrats lost 15% enrollment during this last election cycle.
Yeah,
15%.
I'm not surprised. Yeah.
And that is incredible. When you really think about it, I mean, people like 15%. Do you understand what type of a number that is? Do you understand how many millions of voters that is?
Yeah. Well, in Florida, and I know Florida is, now we're just saying we're full on red state. That's fine. But Republicans outnumber Dems 20-1 here. 20-1. So it's like when you're seeing numbers like that, and yes, there are more no parties than even Republicans for sure. That's the biggest block. But the point is, so there's 20 more Republicans to each Democrat, and then there's even more no parties. So the point is, when your numbers are like that, you're going to only exist in a few places like California and wherever that you have enough population that's going to support your nonsense, because the vast majority of independent people are not going to all of a sudden come around to Coke Light. We don't need them. They offer nothing. The Republicans have their niche. The Democrats have nothing, and a very small group of elitist white liberals and some of their toadies that do their work for them running around like they actually offer something different when they don't. And I think more people see that. No.
You know something else really stupid? This was cracking me up, but articles came out, like, we know that they bled this many voters, right? Well, articles came out the same day I read the article saying that they lost 15% of support. The same day a poll came out that they're shifting right.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't even explain that it's because they're bleeding their voter base. They're like, the Democratic Party is shifting right. I'm like, that's not what's happening. They're losing support. And they're like, they took the right tact because obviously they're shifting. Well, why didn't you win then?
Yeah.
Why did you lose 15% of your base? And yeah, you're going to poll people. They're going to be more neocon because that's what you've got left. It's not that they shift right. And then secondly, they left 65% of seats uncontested down ballot and 80% in some states like Georgia, Kentucky, West Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, like Appalachia, Midwest. They left like states that used to be blue. They abandoned the 50-state strategy in the early 2000s, and this year was one of the worst with, 80%, but 65% of GOP seats down ballot were uncontested this year or last year.
People got to get paid, Z, don't you know? That's a big part of it. And you worked in it, so you know there are people who are just in it for the cash grab. And my God, if that Kamala campaign wasn't the all-time cash grab, if there ever was one. We'll finish
over $500 million
to consultants.
$1 billion
staffing. Yeah, but no, more than $500 million was spent on staffing a 100-and-something day campaign.
Amazing.
Seriously,
got to get on that.
Know
grip,
why
baby.
their party is dying? That's why.
We should have created a firm, made the money, and then spent it all on organizing.
Smart.
You can see the party's numbers dropping a staggering 20 points in just 4 years. The CNN SRSR's poll also found 57% of Democrats and Democratic-leaning voters are more interested in seeing their party leaders stop the GOP agenda, compared to 42% who are more interested in cutting bipartisan deals. It is a big shift from where the party stood at the start of Trump's first term in 2017. Now, this survey was taken before this week's tumultuous battle over funding the government, which resulted in one of the ugliest intra-party Democratic disputes in years, and left many in the party lobbing furious attacks at Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer, who ultimately reversed course and let a GOP bill funding the government become law in order to avert a shutdown. Now a bitter round of finger-pointing is taking shape after Democrats failed to get a single concession from the GOP, despite having their first piece of leverage to fight back against Trump. Now the big question, where does a party in deepening turmoil and in open warfare go from here?
Nowhere! Toilet! Bye-bye! Bye-bye!
The way of the Whigs, that's where they go.
That's what Jen's been saying. Way of the Whigs.
Yeah, they're gone.
That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think we actually, and I've said it, we've seen our last Democratic president of this incarnation of the Democratic Party, which isn't to say that it will always be this incarnation of the Democratic Party, but this neoliberal corporate Clinton-esque party that is what it is, even though they want to stick people like David Hogue as sort of like make it seem like it's a new thing now. Same shit. Can't put enough lipstick on that pig. But until it's not that, this party, I don't see how they're going to win another national election.
And let me just say, without getting into detail, David Hogue is filling in his role very nicely, very quickly. Oh, it didn't take long. He knew the assignment and he went with it. I guess if you can get it, that oh, Kat, you're so sweet. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And at the end of the day, it's kind of, when the whole thing is just falling apart, it's like anything. You're always going to have people that are just going to be looking for a payday because they know, what else? I don't know how prevalent this problem actually was when Jen was running the first time, but you may have even had insight at that point. I think we always knew that these politicians were doing insider trading, but became so absurd.
Oh, that's been going on forever.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that's been going on forever.
Yeah. I mean, Debbie obviously is one of the most egregious offenders, but it became so blatant over the last few years. And so eventually what ends up happening, well, there you go. And could we just call him, please stop calling him Beto. Could you just call him Robert Francis? Because that's his real name. I mean, talk about cultural appropriation of the worst kind.
That was one of our really solid calls, though, you know, in terms of he'll be irrelevant by the next cycle.
We said it.
Called that like the day of.
Yeah, when he said
Middle Seat's first client so that they could make him look progressive. Did you guys know that? Middle Seat made like the contracting firm Middle Seat, who like they tried to make Biden look progressive. They ended up taking all the Justice Democrats candidates.
Who runs that? You won't say, right? I'm curious.
Oh no, it was like Zach Exley and former Justice Democrats, and then former Bernie Sanders staffers.
That's a trough. Do you remember with that and Canova's campaign, Peter?
Yes, of course I do. So I know that Zach is running a particular congressional campaign right now. So what the hell? Who gives a shit? You know me, and I can only tell the truth. I don't do it any other way. If any of you are thinking about giving money to the primary campaign against Nancy Pelosi in California's 12th congressional district, just know that Zach Exley is running the show in that campaign. So just keep in mind, you're going to fund his lifestyle if you choose to give money to that campaign. Sorry, Zach, you never forget. I don't care if you claim you've changed your ways. We wanted to get Shaman on the podcast, and maybe we still will. But in terms of actually contributing financially,
I didn't realize that. I didn't realize. Maybe I do remember, like vaguely, that you said something about somebody was challenging Pelosi in the primary.
Is it Shoycott? Is he challenging it, or is he just also in part of the? Is he the one running against her?
That's my understanding. Yeah,
Shoycott?
Yeah.
Oh man, it's a lot of inside ball, guys. Sorry.
But, hey, you know what? He's a wealthy insider who is challenging Pelosi because he thinks he sees his opportunity. He thinks she might be vulnerable, and he wants in on that position. That's a big part of it. When you see that type of an established player make a run at a congressional seat in a primary, that's just one of those things where he clearly knows something that most of the outside world doesn't know. Maybe Nancy's not doing well. Maybe she's sick.
Okay, look, all right. You talk about hospice. We're like running a hospice in DC. Okay, there needs to be. I am so. You know what? These people, and I am not a fan of mandates. You guys know, like I don't like bans. I don't like mandates. But we're needing to see some mandatory retirement situation going on with these people because they be too old. Sorry, too friggin' old. Anyway,
well, it's not a surprise.
Pass the baton, Nancy. Pass the
baton. But they're not going to.
Maybe term limit should be something like 20 years. You know what I mean? Like if people don't support term limits, maybe it should be something that's up there. But it's just ridiculous that somebody can make a career out of being a member of the Senate or the House. No one should be in the House for 45 years like my representative, Hal Rogers. He was in the House before I was born.
And tell me,
I'm middle-aged.
Yeah, but how is that a good thing?
Wow.
My congressman, who's been
the
around.
thing is, term limits solve some problems, but it doesn't. You're as long as you're rotating in corporate filth, you're going to have the same bullshit. You're just getting new people on the payroll. So
yeah, but the one.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, to me, the whole thing is a ridiculous facade at this point. Like, I don't honestly care what goes on in there because it's silly.
Yeah, but the one advantage that you do have, if you do have term limits, is that the entrenchment isn't as bad. It's still there, and it still can be bad. But there's a big difference between running against a 2-term incumbent versus a 20-year incumbent. That's generational power, and there's a lot of danger that comes with that. The type of things that you experienced running against Wasserman Schultz that you wouldn't traditionally experience against, you know, I mean, pick any random representative that's only been there for a few years. I do think that term limits could help. It's not going to solve the problem, but it will mitigate some of the issues.
No, I get that. And I also get why people don't like it. Like, I see both sides of that, which is why, to me, I've always sort of been, I could go either way on it. I don't think it solves the problem, but if that's what people want, I'm fine with it. Like, it's not a hill I'd ever die on either. Like, that's just how I feel about it.
And it also shows just how much they push back on it. So if they're pushing back on term limits to the extent that they are, it's also proof positive about how much they understand that they can't their own weight can't support what they're actually trying to do. Much like if you were in a fair fight, you very likely would have won. Kamala's going to have a lot to think about with Katie Porter running for governor. I think she should have a lot to worry about with Butch Ware running in the Green Party, to be honest, because I think he is a force. But a lot of times they can't sustain themselves because they don't have anything to stand on. And that's also the thing about Trump, is that he's actually very popular. Now, he could piss off a hell of a lot of people, but despite all that, as bad as Trump can be, part of the reason he succeeds is because you look at what's on the other side and they say, I can't take Trump, but my God, I'm not taking that shit. Not anymore. No. And to me, I think that that's where we are. That's why
it's a matter of where people are in life too. If you're one of the people that Trump is targeting, it's not so easy to say, to hell with those other people, I'm going to accept Trump. It is if you're fairly comfortable and you're not someone that he's going to put a bag over their head, steal them out of their home, and take them away. But the more that he pushes it, the more it's pushing more and more people into that envelope. And
exactly.
So, I don't know how that's going to go, but
exactly what I say. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I have been saying that we need to expect a lot of violence in our future in this country. You cannot have a country that is based on violence, that has more firearms than people, that our entire industry is war and militarization, and not expect shit to get violent here. That's just completely ignorant. What we do overseas, to me, people that are just so okay with things that go on over there, but oh my God, would freak out when anything remotely violent happens here. You need to brace yourselves. Because, and interestingly, I am an unarmed person. I'm unarmed. I don't have a firearm. I am not part of but I get it. I completely get it. And every person one more person who has nothing left to lose is just another person that is gonna, meet us in District 13.
Colin, if you can pull up the post that I put out regarding Luigi and Mahmoud, we'll conclude with that story. We don't have to have a long show tonight, but and Zeynab, you don't have to, if you want to go and do your thing, don't feel obligated.
I'm all mad now because Shoykat's running for Congress against Pelosi, and we're going to have a whole regurgitation of the Justice Dems. Thanks for informing me, Peter.
Well, hey, at least I'm good for something.
I'm just kidding.
He always knows this crap.
Well, I just keep an eye. You make it seem like I spend hours a day paying attention to this shit. It just takes a few minutes. You know what ends up taking up people's time is I've always listened to Jen about this, and I will never, ever do the tempting thing, which is to engage in conversation with the shit posters. Don't do it. It's a waste of time. You'll never get anywhere. And we see people do it all the time. They're gonna say nasty things. Let them say nasty things, because that's what they do. And the fact is,
it's easy for me to say also because I'm not on social media, so I don't have to endure any.
Oh, Jen, you and your little cocoon, all protected.
I'm happy in my cocoon.
I put out this post earlier saying that Mahmoud Khalil is the next Luigi Mangione, and he used a bullhorn. Luigi exposed our broken health system and why we need single payer. Mahmoud exposed our broken foreign policy and why we must sever ties with Israel. And obviously alluded to the fact that we would be discussing this from a deep Benjamin, but
this has happened before. Now that this happened, I'm remembering that I think this has happened before.
The point still stands that the similarity between Mahmoud and Mangione is still real. And Colin, if you can scroll down a little, please. What you'll see is just a ridiculous commentary like this moron. Palestinians have attacked Israel, Lebanon, Jordan, Egypt, Syria. They are terrorists. How do you deal with people like this that are so disconnected from reality? I don't think you can.
That's why I'm not on social media, because they're too stupid. That's double.
Or they're bots. They're sock puppets. I mean, there's
that's true. Too, right? Or they're not real.
There's hundreds of thousands, literally, of AI bots now on social media.
Well, I don't know. This guy Nick J, who did this post, I mean, he licks Elon's ass for $8 every month. So, you know, he does have that going for him. I mean, he pays for his verification. So, well, maybe he is a shit poster.
That's okay. So Palestinians have attacked. Like, that's just, that's so stupid. Like, that's one of those things that's just so ridiculously ignorant. It's just not even. Yeah, take that down. You take that down. That's so stupid. I'm sorry. Like, that's not even that's just so stupid.
But see, you see the connection between Mahmoud and Luigi, right? I'm not crazy about this, am I?
No. I think that what we're seeing are people voicing their utmost frustrations in any way that they can. Now, I will be clear that Luigi Mangione chose a violent path, one that I am not going to say was unnecessary. Well, we're going to be careful since it's YouTube, but you guys can read my mind, you know.
I think of it as defense of others against violence that's happening against us. So I don't think of it as cold-blooded. I think of it as defense of self and defense of others, but continue.
But, you know, Khalil didn't do anything violent whatsoever. He used, like you said, a bullhorn. But even a bullhorn is considered a weapon by this administration and will be silenced. I mean, and by the last administration, like they did the Stop Cop City protesters, and will be seen as a weapon, because the real weapon is the voice. The real weapon is the message. And I think in that way they are similar. And I think that we are sending the messages with the boycotts to with the town hall appearances. I think we still need to keep up with our representatives. Even if they're not going to do shit, we should stay on their asses and show up and give them hell and call. If you can't get places, call and harass their, I mean, not harass, but call and like shut down their phone lines. That's one thing we can do, but that can't be the only thing. That's the problem, is sometimes we only do electoral and we don't show up in person like Medea does. You got to show up where it's happening. You got to resist. But I think one of the most effective things we've done is the economic boycott against Tesla. Yeah. And I think that's where it's really going to be, the economic boycotts. And I think it's going to take more than just unions, because some of the unions are corrupt. And also only 8% of us are in unions now. Most of us aren't. So either we got to build unionization, but we've got to boycott. We got to stop buying their shit. We've got to pressure businesses. We got to figure out people's shareholders. Who are the shareholders? Why don't we start protesting their primary business? If they're shareholders in Tesla that have a portion of shares in Tesla, but then they have a major business, boycott that business. We got to draw the lines. We got to draw the map and start protesting in a way that hits them in their pocketbooks, all of them. If it's somebody that's a big dollar donor that's donating to the Democrats, boycott their businesses. That's the connections we've got to start making. We got to hit them where their pocketbooks are. Great. Because let's face it, a lot of us don't work, or we work part-time. It's going to be really hard for us to take off work and quit work. Unemployment rate's 27.9%. I think it's raised to 32% now with the current federal layoffs. So almost all of us are out of work. We got to find ways to come together so that we can live. But on top of that, the only thing we can do is stop buying their shit. We can't afford it anyway, but we got to pressure the people that are further down the rung a little bit too at the same time. We can't just focus on the top oligarchs. We got to go down a little bit. Who are the sub players that are causing these problems? You know,
that's a great point. And there's tons of them out there. I mean, don't forget, we have how many billionaires now in the United States alone? I think it's like,
we just added 3 in 2025, 3 more.
Yeah, it's like 1,200 or something like that. It's absurd. It's absurd. And that's a reflection of a broken system. It's not that you can't be rich, but to even contemplate what the average person can even contemplate what $1 billion really is. And you're talking about people that have tens of billions, in some cases, hundreds of billions of dollars. It's not real.
No, and it's not broken. It's designed this way. It's just, oh, go ahead.
Well, it's been curated that way. It has evolved into this. And yes, you can definitely say that Reagan started it in a lot of ways, but there are so many things that Clinton did to put this in, to make this possible. I think a substantial amount of his domestic policy coupled with Bush's foreign policy is how we got here. I think that they were one and the same. You look at how chummy the Clintons and the Bushes are together anyway.
That's because they're the same team.
They are. They're all on the same. As Carlin said, but as I like to say, it's a small club and you're not invited.
What would Bill Clinton say, Peter?
I don't have much to say other than I am going to die a very happy man. And he will. He's had it.
All right. So I'm going to just share this with people because we're talking about something very specifically that Zeynab just talked about, that unions are so like downtrodden here. Most people aren't unionized. Most people aren't even employed. And this is a project that is currently being worked on. I'd encourage people to go check this out. Just go check it out. Go sign up to be part of the little beta that they're doing. There's no downside to this. This is the type of system that is trying to organize and unionize all of us and gig people and get everybody in on something that can give us bargaining power. And it's done in a very cool way. I did a Zoom meeting this morning that we will have available. I'm not exactly sure how to put that out, but
I missed that. Was that one of the ones I was supposed to go to?
I don't know. I had sent it to Jordan. I don't know if he forwarded it to you, but this is the premise, and it'll be all different. And I mean, people, no matter what you do or who you are, it's for working people, and it's going to be a completely democratic, from the ground up organization that is going to be put in. He's putting it in a trust, in a protected trust, so that it can't be, even though it's going to be, basically it's playing the corporate game for ourselves. It's sort of like creating something where we're unionized as a corporation, and it's something that will be democratically run. It's very cool, guys. Check it out. If you sign up and be part of the beta, you're just going to learn about it. I am trying to coordinate content creators to be part of this and promote it. But in any event, this is, and maybe it turns out to be not a thing. I don't know. But I know that these guys are, and we were, the meeting was with a supporter of ours and an economist who's in Amsterdam, and it's very sound. And it's just something that, like a lot of things are sound, but doesn't mean it's becomes the next thing. But this is worthy of people's attention. It's worthy of just checking it out.
And they understand MMT.
Yes. Yes. It's sort of in that vein, and it really is just a way for us to build coalition in any event. Even if if at any event, it just allows for us to build. And because it's democratic, each guild, each group of people will organize how they need, what they need to be supported. And this whole thing comes together to support that group at that time. So that's the whole premise of where one group shows up for the other group. It's all in one thing. So yeah, check it out. That was it. It just made me think of that when you said we're not unionized. I thought, you know what? Maybe we should be.
Big shout out to Teresa for the $10 liked and shared. And bonus today, Zeynab, awesome backup but second to no one. Yes.
Of course not.
Yes. Well,
although if you're going to be back up to Medea, that's pretty good though.
Hell yeah, I'll take that.
Right?
She's awesome.
Pretty good.
Yeah, and the great thing about Medea is that that if she's not here, she's clearly got something going on.
Well, that's the thing, and she's always has bail money. Always have bail money.
And today, I mean, so much happened today. There's a lot of last-minute protests, so she could very well be on the ground.
Yeah. That's why I don't hold it against. Medea is.
It's not media.
It's not media. It's Medea. But Yeah, I don't, look, this has happened before. And again, in her field, shit happens. Seriously, she could I mean, yeah. But yeah, I don't think anything is horrible or bad that happened to her. I don't think that at all. I think she just got wrapped up in whatever she got wrapped up in.
You want to see a real riot, let something bad happen to Medea. In fact, the closest time Medea ever came to actually being physically harmed was when Debbie Wasserman Schultz decided to sick the cops after her.
She sent the Capitol Police to Medea's house.
And she also had her in a chokehold as well. Yeah. So just remember, I'm not crazy when I say that
Medea. Debbie Wasserman Schultz accused Medea Benjamin. Now, I don't know if any of you have seen her in person. I know sometimes you can't really tell, but in person, she has to weigh 80 pounds soaking wet, right? Our congresswoman accused Medea Benjamin, who is a pacifist and a peace activist, mind you, of assaulting her.
Oh, are you serious?
Oh, I am serious. And sent the Capitol Police to go bring in Medea.
Oh my God. I didn't know.
This was a long time ago. This was a long time ago.
Oh, and what made it even better?
This was when the Venezuelan embassy was happening.
Yeah, it was one of those Maduro. It was one of those pro-Maduro rallies. And who was her co-pilot, if you will, that she was doing this rally with? Mario Diaz-Balart, because of course it is. That's look.
And Medea was there, and there was someone got pushed in the crowd, and Medea got pushed up against her, and you could see the whole thing on video actually. And then after the fact, Debbie had Capitol Police go try to arrest Medea, and then it ended up not. She ended up coming out and showing them the video of the footage where you could see she was just being pushed in a crowd. But Debbie actually thought after the fact to go arrest Medea Benjamin for assault.
That isn't dirty?
Probably.
Is there what? Is there what?
Anything Debbie does that isn't dirty? That isn't like nasty politics?
I don't know. No. But it's like, I can't even imagine like what it would take after the fact, especially since nobody got hurt. So then, in other words, you're just that bitch. You're that
She
bitch.
basically swatted Medea.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. And fortunately, she had the video footage to show them, so they didn't end up taking her in. But she called the Capitol Police to go arrest Medea for assault.
A big shout out to Teresa with the other $10 in the super chat. Remember, for as little as $5 a month, you can become a supporter of our small but mighty channel. A big shout out to Shonda.
It's a Shonda. I love that.
Yeah, but how can you be a Shonda with a last name like Welch? So,
well, that's the thing. Okay, well, it's look, it's a cross-pollination of sorts.
It may be before my time, Kat Negrita, but I happen to know what that reference is. Not everybody will know it, but I do.
I do know what that is, of course.
Happy St. Patty's Day. I really appreciate your show. We appreciate you being here.
We do. Thank you so much.
That is what matters. And for
my name's Zeynab Day, so that's kind of like a Shonda Welsh.
So when you were on doing Status Quo before, and I was watching it, and you were talking about like what's going on with Iran and how all of this is just prodding with Iran because people like Lindsey Graham are foaming at the mouth, like they cannot get enough of hating on Iran.
Why is it always the biggest pussy motherfuckers that are always?
That's why, because he's wearing pink panties. I don't know, whatever. So, but I was sitting there, and I'm serious, and I look at you. You're like a Persian princess. You look like a Persian princess. You could be like, no, seriously, like that. Yes, you are, with the eyes, the whole thing. You could be that.
Oh, I love you.
No, it's true. But like what the beef with Iran is the same as the beef with Russia and the same as the beef with China. It's all completely irrational and fabricated. There's no there. Everyone just wants us to leave them the fuck alone. That's it. That's what they all want, is for us to leave them the fuck alone.
I mean, that's the whole point, is like, stop, leave us alone. This is why we're doing this.
They are the bravest. This is why they're so akin with the Palestinians, because the indigenous peoples are the most bravest, resilient, badass people. You are picking with the people that have been surviving since the cradle of fucking civilization. And I've always had this thing about Yemen, because to me, that's District 12. Yemen and Haiti is District 12 to me. And it's like, that's as far as the least of these in each hemisphere, kind of respectively. And so I've always taken a special interest in Yemen, because it's like Palestine. It is. It's like, it's the same. I think of it very similarly. And they are just, you cannot kick these people down enough, and they are just not having it. They are badass to the nth degree. That's how, like, that's what it is. And did you hear him come? The guy, I don't know his name, the Yemeni. Did they say Yemeni? The leader, whatever. He came out and said, "We're still doing what we're doing. I don't know.
But they said they're going to blame anything that happens on Iran. So if there's any kind of retaliation whatsoever, any kind of self-defense even whatsoever, they're going to blame that on Iran. And his crazy, like, we're doing presidential announcements now on Truth Social, I guess. You know, that's the thing. Did you see the president's announcement on Truth Social?
This is the apocalypse. We're in the Biff timeline, people.
But let me tell you what it reminds me of. Have you ever heard of Darvo?
Of course. Are you kidding me? I deal with narcissists all the time. That's that's like the lifeblood of my life. I'll even flat out tell you, Darvo me. Oh yeah, I know. Darvo.
That's what they're doing. They're turning victim and offender on its head and gaslighting us. This is a massive gaslighting. This is just gaslighting propaganda. I mean, 90% of Hasbara in it coming from Assad is Darvo. Right? It's turning its on. And what abusers do is they'll come and hit the woman in the face, and they'll say, you know, you should have been keeping your mouth shut. That's Darvo. It's, oh, well, you led me to do it. It's your fault. And that's what they're doing here. It's subjugation.
I'm not touching you, Jen.
It's a thing down.
I'm not touching you.
I know.
The time
he's doing that, like like we antagonize it, but the thing, they will never understand. This is what I was saying before. People like Donald Trump, really, this is where I get into the caucasity. These people will never, ever understand the level of connection that certain people have, not just with their land, but with their heritage and with their people, because people like the Western colonials, these are vapid people. These are vapid, soulless, like leechy people that just go around like a succubus and like go places. But like the people that are in these places, they're not just going to like roll over, right? Like these are people like Trump don't understand having a land that you would die for. He doesn't understand that. And that's the big difference. But I think that what happens is if they really do start really prodding at Iran, I think that's going to really fuck up what he's trying to do with Putin. And I think that'll really piss off Putin. And then I'm not entirely sure that they wouldn't get involved if we actually did go after Iran. And so I don't think that's
messes with
wants to go.
Messes with the backdoor dealings and the background dealings of BRICS.
That's what I think too. And so, what he's trying to do is get in there to undermine China. So he doesn't want to do, like, in my mind, going after Iran is just going to piss off Russia. And he wants to sit down with Putin and he wants to make friends with Putin because at the end of the day, he's trying to isolate China. So like, I just don't see that he would necessarily want to do something that's going to cause Russia to get involved. And I do think Russia would get involved if we went after Iran.
And our domestic, you know, Israel has a lot to do with this. Oh, sorry. Israel has a lot to do with this. Yes.
Yes.
But our domestic, I think what is happening here right now has a lot to do with it too, because I think it's a distraction from the heist, from the robber baron heist that is taking place and the massive privatization. So if we go into war, he can stall all kinds of things, arrest all kinds of people. They can open back up the World War II internment type camps that they put the Japanese under and start rounding us up. This is not hyperbole. They're sitting the literal stage for this right now. I'm not being like alarmist. This is real and it can happen. And, you know, on top of the suppression of freedom of speech, the stealing, but the privatization is huge. That is where they're wanting to go. I mean, who was it? Think today said that they want to privatize Social Security again. The whole privatization crap.
Well, they're going to get that at some point. But the progressive lefty, thanks for the $2. Is there any truth to the pardon being voided? So there is talk of Trump trying to void some of Biden's pardons. I think most notably the ones that he suspects, you know, like the Adam Schiffs of the world that were basically targeting him when he was out of office. I don't know for sure what the rules are regarding.
That would be unconstitutional, and there's no precedent for it.
Yeah, but
a
then
lot
again,
of what they're doing right now is unconstitutional.
I
What
was
they're
gonna
doing
say.
with Mahmoud Khalil is highly unconstitutional.
True.
David, the reason I use Hunger Games reference, and I could also do Star Wars. I could do either of those. That's how I taught my boys about Empire. That's how I taught my boys to understand who's who and what's what.
and I
So
guess
they
I'm gonna have to
understand.
watch
I
it.
can tell my boys District 12, and they understand what that means.
I'm Appalachian, so I related to District 12
Exactly.
a little deeply in that way too.
Yeah, but when I say it, I also mean globally, right? Like, so when I say District 12, I mean of the globe.
Global
Well, that's
South.
why.
Yeah.
Well, that's also why the clip that I played earlier that I discovered on Instagram from Overtown when Jen was a young lady, very young lady at the time. You know, Appalachia's dealt with the same thing. It's the same problem. When you think about water contamination, dumping, things like that, it's always in places like Southern Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Kentucky, Southern Virginia. These are communities that are specifically along Appalachia. They've just been decimated for centuries, and it's on purpose. And so when people wake up to that reality and they want to know why things are bad, yeah, some people are still kind of waking up to everything that's going on, but you got to wake up faster. You got to stop pretending that, first of all, electoral solution is not what's going to change things. It's going to happen from boots on the ground, and in a pretty significant way, mind you. And then there also has to be a recognition of the breaking of the two-party system. The Democratic Party is going to break. It's in the process of breaking as we speak. But we have to consciously tell ourselves, and don't get me wrong, there is an appeal to Katie Porter running for governor of California. But you have to have the sense to recognize in this moment that that's just distraction. You don't want to give them any life. Because Katie Porter has shown time and again, even though she's really good, that she's still a team player when you get right down to it. She's not going to deviate from the Democratic Party line. That's why she kept her mouth shut.
Down. She said she would step down if Kamala gets into the race.
What does that tell you? I mean,
yeah, that's well, what's going to happen, and I said this to Peter earlier, is that what Kamala's people will do is they'll use the Adam Schiff strategy, and they'll just have their PAC donate tons and tons of money to the Republican, and really.
You said that on Punch Up last night. Sorry, not to interrupt, but you said that on Punch Up last night, and that was spot on.
Because I didn't know, but that's, to me, that just seems to be what you do now in a jungle primary. That's how you can do what you want to do, and they just manipulate the system that way. So that's what Butch will be up against is that.
I'll say this: if Iran does have nukes, good. They should. Yeah. The only way to protect yourself.
We broke the agreement. We broke the agreement. We never. Here's the thing. And this is something like, I don't know how many people in the world will see this or ever see this, but here's the thing, news flash to the world, note to the world, don't sign deals and agreements with this country. We've never honored a single agreement, truce, treaty, a pact, ever. Why would anybody sign an agreement with us?
No,
like that's the dumbest. Honestly, I just think that's the dumbest fucking thing you could possibly do.
Excuse me, the man is talking now. We make really great deals, tremendous deals. I just come in and I fix them, and I'm fixing them for the better. And we are going to make America great again.
Again.
That's what I'm talking about. And it's become a clown show. So let it stay that way. We should not give any air to the idea that what we currently have can be reformed. It can't. It's not going to be. It's going to break, and we just have to prepare ourselves for what's going to come on the other side. It's not going to be pretty. But at some point, you have to recognize that what we will do today will reverberate for generations to come. That's on us.
And our most marginalized are going to be the ones that are going to hurt the most. So lean into them. The people already in poverty, the people that don't have jobs, the people of color, the ravaged areas like, the parts in the cities where gentrification has pushed people further out, and the plants and the mills and everything are dumping all the pollution. The places like Appalachia, the places like East Palestine, the people that are going to be hurting the most aren't going to be the Democratic Party people who vote liberal most of the time and are from upper middle class families. It's going to be the people from generational poverty that are going to hurt the most. And we're going to be the ones that are expected to sacrifice the most. So people that have or that are feeling this and can see this, we need to come in, and those are the people that we need to support the most, as well as supporting each other. Because, you know, I feel like every single time the people that are asked to sacrifice the most are the people that have sacrificed the most their entire life.
Yes.
And that's what's so hard. And right now, when we're going into this, I've seen people saying, well, you know, you should want empire to fall. You know, it doesn't matter what happens to your kids. Look at what happened to the global south. But what you have to realize, and I'm not saying you, people that are saying that have to realize, is that there are people that have been living in conditions in this country that are conditions like it has been in third world, where they don't have health care, they don't have insurance, they don't have proper housing. We showed earlier the people that are living in these, you know, defunct houses with these landlords that are, you know, taking advantage of them. Those are the people that are going to be hurt the first and the most before this wave gets to where the liberal, you know, upper 40% wakes up whatsoever. It will hurt the lower 60% the most. And that's the majority of the country. 60% only have $350 in savings.
Yeah, I mean, always things go to the most vulnerable first, which is why the people need to be putting themselves out there that can, in a way when they can, and do what you can. And I say that in terms of even on some of these on campuses, you know, people that are not citizens need to be sort of like laying a little low, and citizens need to be sort of putting themselves in front. And it's the same thing with vulnerable communities, but it is definitely going to get bad. There's no doubt about it. And I let me be very clear. I never want that. Like, that's not what I wanted. If it were what I wanted, we would have finished our second term of Bernie Sanders. We'd all have health care and a living wage. And so, you know, this has nothing to do with what I want. But this is
just stop being realistic.
No,
you have to just vote a little harder.
This is the inevitability of capitalism.
It's the reality.
And that is what we're watching. And anybody who understands that can see it. So it's happening either way, whether the red and blue thing is a facade, that's irrelevant. It is irrelevant. And until people stop blaming Republicans. Yes, they're obtuse. Yes, but that's not the problem. Stop blaming Republicans. It's a class war. It's a class war. It's a top-down thing. And if you are not invited to Davos, you're with us. So it's like, stop going like it's a red, blue, left, right thing. It's so infuriating. Nobody cares. I'm so sick of even hearing people's personal political preferences. We are so far past that. That mattered maybe 40 years ago, right? When you could be obsessed with little fringe things, maybe because people maybe had more of a living wage. We are off the charts now, people. Your fringe issues, your little political things, your hurt feelings, your woke shit, your all of that. Enough. Like, it's so frustrating. People stop blaming the parties.
Oh, I really should read that auto text message that I received earlier.
It's just so ridiculous. Until people stop playing games with these parties and thinking that our politics is going to actually help us in some way, and realize that this is a class war, nothing is going to change. Those people, you're the holdup. You're the holdup why people in vulnerable communities are going to have to suffer for the longer period of time, because you are still clinging to the carcass of something that is dead. So
because as long as your party's in, you can go back to sleep and you feel okay because the impacts aren't hitting you yet. They will. They will.
Yeah.
Amen.
And that's part of it, is that it is annoying to watch. It is so unproductive. It is keeping us on a fucking hamster wheel, people. The oligarchs are laughing all the way to the bank. Oh, look at the little people think that it matters what team they're on. How cute are they? That's how stupid it is.
That's the point.
Stepping back from the fucking tree, people. Step back from the tree.
It's their tool. It's one of their tools. One of their tools. That's why you see someone like an Elon Musk always, you know, they're talking about Act Blue and blaming the Democrats for this, that, and the other, when it's things that, you know, there's like, Nancy Pelosi does, you know, whatever backdoor trading deals when you can look at the top Republicans in the House and they do that too. And then that goes the other way around, where Nancy Pelosi might be like, look at, you know, Johnson and the backdoor dealings he's done, and look at, you know, how he's gamed Wall Street for his own benefit. Yes. Look at Rick Scott and how much money he stole. Yes. They all do it. They all do it, but they'll point to the other one like they're being transparent and they're, you know, speaking about the corruption of the other party, when in fact they're both parties do the same shit.
See, Republicans blame immigrants and Muslims or whoever, and Democrats blame Republicans. See, they just have you punching sideways. It's still not helping. They still have you distracted from where you need to be aiming your anger. They're just like, they're not necessarily kicking down to the same level that Republicans are kicking down, but they're sure as hell not punching up, which is what has to happen. So they're just prolonging the problem. So the more people that Trump pisses off, again, and I say it facilitates the uprising that is going to be required for people to get their heads out of their asses and stop fighting amongst each other. It's so stupid.
Zeynab, thank you for coming on this evening. Guys, links are in the description.
Thank you, guys.
Regular on Status Coup. And of course, you're always welcome here. And thank you for being so lively in the chat.
Thank you, Zeynab.
Well, maybe one of you guys can come on next time I host for Jordan and co-host with me over there. That would be fun.
Peter lives for that shit.
Then I'll text Peter.
Wow. Okay.
I'll do it. Like if anybody ever asks me to.
No, I'll text Peter. I've co-hosted
Peter
with Peter.
does. Like he lives for that shit.
Okay then.
Bye,
I'll keep that in mind. I love you, Peter. You know I do. Bye, guys.
See you later. We better get our act together sooner rather than later.
Did you like my rant?
It was terrible, but I'll just have to.
Was it really?
Partners.
Was it bad? You just
Progressive
don't like
lefty
that
with
I'm an anti-capitalist. I think
Progressive Lefty with the $10. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you supporting our capitalist system with your $10. But we appreciate it. If Canada really wanted to fight back, we would go, well, I guess USA just ended all our trade agreements and started taking control of our natural resources. But Banker, Carney will never do that. See, the problem, I understand what you're saying, but here's the problem. We have a president right now that does not care about what's going to happen 10 years from now, because there's a very good chance that Trump is not going to be alive in 10 years. You know, he's worried about.
I go back and forth between thinking, is it better or worse if he doesn't survive this administration? You know what I'm saying? I mean, JD Vance is not a prize.
No, he's not. But then again, who is? We've looked around for the longest time about what is and what might have been, and whether things actually changed. I don't know. I do know that whatever campaign Bernie was running in 2016, that was a special campaign. You knew it, you felt it, you could sense that he really understood the moment, even though it got too big for anything that he obviously anticipated it was going to turn into. But I think that spoke to a much bigger issue in terms of where the country was just under a decade ago.
So we have made some progress. Like we have made some progress from even then going from the attempt of a progressive takeover of the party to realizing that that is not possible. Again, we've made the progress in being able, again, every little bit of it gets us further and further back from the tree. I know Chris was wondering what I'm talking about. Like it's about seeing the forest through the trees, and these people have their heads up against the tree. And every time something happens where we're able to step back a little bit, we get a better perspective. And I think we all have a much better perspective than we did 10 years ago in terms of what we can and cannot expect from electoral politics. And we'd be stupid if we didn't, read the tea leaves based on empirical evidence that we've been seeing over the past 10 years. So now we know better.
And think about it. We're living in a system that I've tried to point out constantly. And look, there's many reasons why I will always bring up Wasserman Schultz if the opportunity presents itself, because I never want anyone to forget what that woman represents. She represents the worst of what the system has become. And it's not just what she did to Bernie, what she did to the movement out of sole narcissistic, sociopathic career ambition. It's everything that she encompasses that represents the worst of the system. It's the blatant insider trading in everybody's faces. It's not just that she is a Zion Nazi. It's the fact that she goes out of her way to do publicity with Netanyahu. She did it the second she walked into that seat. She's doing it today. And all those things matter.
Okay,
Lindsey
you know what? With
Graham-
this many people, I should give the anecdote about the driver and the license plate on her car. Because while we're sitting here and talking about like the hypocrisy of the Democratic Party, so for people who are new here, so Debbie has a driver, and it's not that I begrudge somebody having a driver, because the truth is, I don't mind having.
Yeah,
I would. I would like no,
Yeah,
and
would.
also the truth is, it is better. It is better when you're like doing a lot of like appearances. It makes sense. So I don't begrudge that she has a driver. That's not the part that's ironic. So she has a driver. She sits in the back seat. That's also a little bit strange, but whatever. The license plate, it's a vanity plate that she has on her, and it's a very nice BMW, nothing like crazy, but it's a nice BMW, and the license plate is Vote Dem. So here's this woman getting taken around in her car with her driver.
5 Series, the 5 Series, mind you.
5 Series BMW. Okay, whatever. Saying Vote Dem. I can't think of anything more like perfect symbolic of why we don't need that party anymore. We don't need new Coke. That what purpose do they serve?
Well, the community that Debbie lives in is a master planned upper middle class community.
You're assuming she's even still here most of the time. I don't even know.
No, she's there. I mean, however often she is, that's neither here nor there, but that is her home. At least it's the place that she pays her bills.
That might be, but I don't think she's there that often anymore. I don't.
She was often there. She was there often enough to throw a hissy fit about a door hanger being dropped on her house.
She's there during campaign season.
Yeah, exactly.
If she's, but I don't think she's really there that often. I think she's away.
But the point is, that Wasserman Schultz represents a district that very much is reflective of the type of people that support the Zionist state of Israel. It's not hard to see why. As I've said many times before, whether it is Weston, where she lives, whether it's Western Pembroke Pines, West Miramar, whether it's Western Plantation, it's a very Western-centric type of district in terms of political activity. But a lot of these people live in gated communities. There is a lot of money. There's a lot of poverty. There's a lot of plight in the congressional district on the east side, in particular, East Davie, East Pembroke Pines.
And
Hollywood.
she shows up like in all places that have those vulnerable neighborhoods only when it's time to ask for their vote. And we know exactly what we're talking about. And then she has her facilitators in those communities, your Jim Clyburn type people that just facilitate the process so that she doesn't actually have to ever be there or do anything, but they just keep her image present.
And the other thing you have to remember is that, especially in the very vulnerable, especially Black communities, whether in Dania, Hollywood, East Pembroke Pines, the thing that you have to remember about these particular communities is that opportunities are far and few between, and the ones who manage to secure them will move heaven and earth to keep them, because in their mind, that's all that they have. And that's how Debbie keeps them on a string. And she's been doing that for decades. And the second anybody even attempts to get out of line, well, you better believe that she will move heaven and earth to ruin them. And this, in my opinion, is reflective in what probably happens in the overwhelming majority of congressional districts around the country, especially the entrenched Democratic districts in the city and suburbs. This is how they do it. There's
and
a
you
reason
also
they're
know,
there.
yeah, and you also know, that, and we've said this before, the people that sit in those seats, they truly do believe that they are entitled to determine who gets the seat after them. They do. They actually view these seats as something that is for them to bequeath to somebody else that they choose.
Alcee Hastings believed that when he was in, well, he never got around to it. He ended up dying in office. He did want to bequeath the seat to
Frederica Wilson believes that that's her, like her God-given right to determine who should bequeath her.
So
who should inherit her seat, rather.
When people still ask and they still point the fingers around, why can't the Black community get out of this? If you are not listening to Tim Black's podcast, we highly recommend that you tune in, and you'll understand why he has made it his mission in life to go after Jasmine Crockett. There's a reason that he's going after her. because he knows that she's capable and that she is lying through her teeth every time she talks because she's smarter than she pretends that she changed her entire facade. And you don't need to look too far because she's been on our show multiple times. And now she talks a completely different way, acts a completely different way. And for what purpose? Because she's greedy for money and power. Like
I don't know. I hate this is why I don't like talking about this because there's
no reason otherwise. What's the purpose? It doesn't serve anything.
I mean, look, we all know that in certain communities, when your own people are, selling you out, it's infinitely worse. Right?
It absolutely is.
And it's just always worse. That's sort of like the way it is. So,
think of it this way. When you think about the most vulnerable, poor, ravaged Black communities in this country, you can say what you want about Byron Donalds and Wesley Hunt. I can assure you that their communities that they represent are doing 1,000,000 times better than any community that Maxine Waters represents, that Jim Clyburn represents, that Frederica Wilson represents. This is how it is.
But at the end of the day, red areas are also better in other ways too, in terms of development, lack of overdevelopment, like just different things. But I still don't want him. I still don't want him to be governor. I could tell you that.
No, absolutely not. But again, you're also seeing what the Democratic Party has evolved into over the years. The Republican Party has its own problems. There's no question that it does. The biggest sin the Republicans ever made was they got in bed with the evangelical right under Reagan. But the biggest sin that the Democratic Party ever made was that they got in bed with Wall Street through the third way with Bill Clinton. And that's what changed everything. And that's how these areas are the way that they are today. Somebody pointed out earlier that the biggest issue and the impediment that's dealing with the Democratic Party when they even run for office is that they can't run anywhere outside of major city surroundings. They can't do it. So when Trump goes around bragging about how he won 4 out of 5 counties in this country, well, that's actually a pretty good flex because it's also reflective of how much the Democratic Party has abandoned workers in this country.
Okay, so I just heard from Medea. It says, "Oops, never got the link. So sorry." So we'll just reschedule.
She just messaged now.
8:18.
All right, so like 30 minutes ago.
But still,
I did. I sent it last night. I tagged Colin on it as well.
Don't bring Colin into this. Leave Colin alone.
No, I just if you need proof that I actually sent it.
Don't bring Colin in. Don't triangulate this conversation. No need for that.
Colin, you're going to get whipped.
Stop it. Leave Colin alone. Okay. So when's a good time to reschedule? Is there a day that you have?
Well, the earliest that we could get her on the schedule would be, give me 1 second. Let's see. Don't
mind us while we schedule guests.
Guys, this is a live stream. You just got to deal.
You got to go with the flow.
If Medea's available on Thursday, March 27th, that's the earliest so we could get her on. But let's get her on if she's available then. No problem with bringing her on. We had a good backup with Z. I think we had a good conversation.
We do fine anyway now. My only thing is, for me, that's one of the key reasons why I wouldn't want to do a solo show. Because I don't do well like a lot of people do, like when you're doing pontificating or when Jordan's doing his thing. I don't want to sit here and talk to the camera like I'm talking. I don't want to do, like, I'm terrible at it. I have to be having a conversation with somebody.
No, I understand. I agree. I would much prefer to have a conversation than to pontificate. And even if I did a pontification, it never hurts to have, well, thank you, GS. I would like to think that that's the biggest reason why we have our show is because Jen and I can play off of each other. That's the nature of how these things work. Honestly, this is one of the reasons why I like Keaton and Russell. I actually think that they play well off of each other pretty well. In fact, there is a real odd couple, Felix Unger thing going on between Keaton and Russell. Like Keaton's the straight-laced type and Russell's the, he's the.
So who are we? Who are we?
Oh, I'm between, you know what? I don't know.
You're definitely Felix. All right, listen. So just so you know, on Thursday, the 27th, I'm going to have like a hard stop time of potentially like 8:40. Okay. I got dinner reservations at 9 at some really amazingly good place. I'm only in St. Augustine for one night. So I made it late enough I'm just letting
Does that
you know.
mean that Medea's coming on? Did she confirm it already? Or are you just giving me
No,
that?
I'm just telling you that night. It reminded me that night that I have my hard stop time because I'm not missing my dinner reservation. And I almost never do that kind of thing, like make a dinner reservation. But this menu just looked really, really good. Like I couldn't even contain myself.
Well, that's what we're working on, Alex.
It's got a lot of fish too. Like that's the thing.
Well, that speaks my language. That's
I know.
exactly what I'm interested in. But remember, guys, we are in this fight together. It's not going to be easy. There's going to be a lot of bumps on the road. And as I said before, everything is about nuance now. I actually support Doge. I do not support Elon Musk running it because that's the problem. You had an opportunity for 15 years to deal with this problem.
You support the concept of what Doge is supposed to be doing.
100%.
Right.
100%.
You don't support Doge.
I don't support the douche.
He is. It's so good. Like he is such a douche canoe. Like I can't. It's just the fact that people seemingly are just so okay with some foreign guy. And again, I am like so not a nationalist person, but he's not even from here and he's not elected and he's going through our friggin' wallet and taking what he wants. Like it's so crazy to me that people don't have more of a problem with this.
Well, and don't forget, Elon admittedly has Asperger's. You know, you have a guy who's his interpersonal communication capabilities are limited. There's a reason he's such an oddball.
I don't care. I don't care that he's on the spectrum, and I don't care that he's odd.
I'm saying that's the reason why he doesn't. The empathy isn't there. He doesn't feel it. He doesn't understand it. And frankly,
that has nothing to do with being on the spectrum. That has to do with the fact that he might be a sociopath. But the spectrum might have trouble communicating those things and reading cues, but they feel what they feel. So no, I'm not giving, do not use anything having to do with autism, spectrum, Asperger's, anything in that vicinity regarding anything about Elon Musk to somehow justify, explain, or any of his disgusting behavior. Please. It's a disservice to people that are on the spectrum. He can also just be a total piece of shit.
You done?
How about that? Yeah, I'm done.
Gaza's under attack.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to stay that way. I would advise all of you to keep in mind that anyone who supports the state of Israel, that they should be cast out like lepers in society as far as I'm concerned. There is no forgiving this. There is no accepting this. There is no defense of what the supposed I am fearing for my life people have to say. These are people of immense privilege, and they do not want to be challenged. So let's challenge them. Do not be afraid to take the fight, and do not be afraid to be called a anti-Semite or any other fancy names that they want to throw in your direction. That's a big part of it. And I agree with Guy. It's easier for Musk to do this because he isn't an American. He doesn't sympathize.
That's what I mean. He's like, it's like, look, I don't say it from a nationalistic sense. I say it more from any group sense. Like it could be anything. He's just not our people. And he's coming in here like he's friggin' and playing like, you know, purse commando. And it's obnoxious. And he can't even run his own company. Like, what the fuck?
Guys, if you're trying to send us stuff, please send it to generationalchange@gmail.com. We appreciate any and all support. Again, we'll do our due diligence this time, but, you know, Medea always has something going on. So, you know, I don't think it was personal. However, Thursday, we are scheduled to have Matt Taibbi return to our show. It's been a while, so it'll be nice to chat with him. The following Monday, we will have Zach Foster. He will definitely be here to talk about Israel-Palestine. And if everything works out, perhaps on the 27th, we could
get Medea. We'll see. Look, you know what? It could happen. Stranger things have happened.
Smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things we ask you to do. We love you all. We'll see you Thursday.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.